Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Thousands of U.S. troops will be deployed to the Mexican border by the end of the week. I'm Laura Podesta. I'll have the latest on that and President Trump's plan to set up tent cities for those seeking asylum.
And back here in the Treasure State in Billings, the bomb squad called to deal with a suspicious package at the MTN station KTVQ last night. Coming up, what the officers found and how they handled it.
Good morning to you. It is 6:30 here on this Tuesday, and we now have a clearer picture of what President Trump has planned for the Migrant Caravan headed towards the United States.
As CBS News' Laura Podesta reports, President Trump spoke on Fox News last night about bolstering troop support and other measures to deter illegal immigration.
President Trump was more specific last night on how he'll handle the migrant caravan headed up through Mexico toward the U.S. border. On Fox News Channel's The Ingram Angle, the president talked about setting up tent cities where the migrants can live as they wait to find out if their application will be approved.
We're not going to build structures and spend all of this, hundreds of millions of dollars. We're going to have tents. They're going to be very nice, and they're going to wait. And if they don't get asylum, they get out.
He added that very few people will actually be granted asylum. And he wants to weed out possible gang members he says are infiltrating the group.
We're catching. We're not releasing.
The caravan is still more than 800 miles from the U.S., but the Pentagon is preparing to deploy more than 5,000 troops to the border. Officials say the soldiers, who do not have the authority to apprehend migrants, will close gaps and strengthen security at points of entry.
We will not allow a large group to enter the United States in an unsafe and unlawful manner.
Many of the migrants from El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala are hoping to qualify for asylum by proving they face persecution if they return to their home country. Laura Podesta, CBS News, New York.
Now, in addition to the 3,500 people currently part of the caravan in Mexico, another group consisting of around 3,000 migrants has formed at the Guatemala-Mexico border. So more to follow on that as well.
Much more to follow on that. Matt, Halloween, we're kind of crossing our fingers at this point.
Yep.
Yes.
And sometimes that happens a little more often than others. This year, it'll be an interesting run. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes. Current temperatures into the teens. West Yellowstone, 19 degrees. We've got most areas into the low 30s. There may be a little bit of light snow still falling on some of the area mountain passes. Temperatures are going to struggle for the afternoon today and tomorrow. And Thursday, we may see a little jump by Friday. We'll talk more about your complete forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Now 6:32, last week we reported that President Trump would be visiting Bozeman for a campaign rally for Matt Rosendale. Now the details have been confirmed. The president will hold a rally at the Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport on Saturday, November 3rd at 12:30 in the afternoon. For ticket information, you can head on over to our websites.
Now this morning, Montana U.S. Senator Steve Daines says he'll try to push through 5 natural resource bills in this lame duck legislative session, which will take place after the November election. Senator Daines' bills include funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which pays for access to public lands across Montana. He's also seeking approval of the Restore Our Parks Act, which will provide funding for billions in deferred maintenance to all national parks. The Yellowstone Gateway Act, which would make permanent a mining ban on 30,000 acres adjoining Yellowstone National Park. The Healthier Forests Act, which would create expedited arbitration rather than court fights over timber cutting permits. And the Clean Water for Rural Communities Act, which would authorize a water system for several eastern Montana counties. Senator Daines says bipartisan support means there's a good chance the bills can be passed before the end of the year.
Just in the last month that has got Republicans in the Senate, Democrats in the Senate, as well as the administration and Secretary Zinke fully on board to fund this nearly $12 billion maintenance backlog we face.
Now Daines is formally asking the leaders of the House and the Senate to schedule the bills for votes before the first of the year.
And a suspicious package was left outside the MTN station in Billings last night at KTVQ. Billings police, the FBI bomb squad, shut down the block surrounding the station by the bomb robot, got up close to the plastic tote. Authorities say the incident was likely a scare tactic meant to disrupt news operations. After police got the call and arrived on the scene, it was determined that there was a level of concern about the package. And that is when officers blocked off 32nd Street North between 3rd Avenue North and 4th Avenue North and called in the bomb squad. Sergeant Jason Gartner said that once the bomb squad arrived on the scene, members knew that they needed to take action to ensure safety. So at about 10 p.m., the tub was blown up at the station parking lot. No incendiary devices were found and no one was hurt. Now, at the time, the investigation is still going on, and the person who left the package is still at large. There was no disruption to the news operations, and KTVQ newscasts were broadcast as scheduled on Monday evening.
Shifting gears just a little bit now, Talen Energy, the company that operates the Colstrip power plants in southeastern Montana, has filed a suit in state district court in an effort to recover $733 million from former Colstrip owner PPL. Talen, a part owner of the Colstrip plants, alleges that in 2014, PPL wrongfully transferred $733 million in proceeds from the sale of its hydroelectric dams to Northwestern Energy. Talen's lawsuit contends those funds should have stayed with PPL Montana Holdings. Without those funds, Talen says it's unable to fulfill its pension and benefit obligations to workers at the Colstrip plant, nor can it meet its environmental cleanup obligations. Talen, which was created by PPL back in 2015 to oversee its energy holdings, owns half of Colstrip Units 1 and 2 and has a 15% interest in Units 3 and 4.
Now, there are many things that make owning a home in Montana very unique.
There are the big sky views, of course, but how to keep those views just as spectacular on the inside? In this week's Montana Made, MTN's Justine Stewart takes us to the Bitterroot Valley, where one man is shedding some light on his rustic creations.
Breathtaking, rustic, elegant, and very Montana. Just a few words that come to mind when gazing up at Jim Swanson's creations. And it all started as a hobby.
I'd go out, shed horn hunt, pick up antlers, and I had a garage full of antlers in no time. And I decided I needed to do something with those antlers.
So he started making antler chandeliers, at first just for family and friends, but it wasn't long before he had more customers. So he took a leap of faith and started Antler Chandeliers and Lighting Company. Almost 25 years later, Swanson is busier than ever.
We're just all Montana. I mean, there's nothing fancy about us. And we build quality chandeliers, and that's what I do every day. And I just make sure that they're done correctly and they're done nicely, and we represent the state well.
Swanson says he gets a variety of orders from across the country and around the world, and each piece is unique.
It's like a puzzle. It's like anything. After you've done it a long time, it's you can kind of just walk over to the pile and select what I need, and it all works. And you know, it's just something that happened over the years.
Some days he's working with deer antlers, others it's elk or moose, and even antlers from Europe.
I've restored antler chandeliers that are several hundred years old from Europe, where I've had them shipped to me to electrify, where maybe they were gas lit at one time, and then send them back to Europe.
This particular chandelier Swanson showed me has its own story. These antlers are 120 years old, and they used to hang in the Great Northern Hotel Saloon in Malta.
This is the last one of those chandeliers that I built out of that collection. And the really unique thing about this chandelier is these antlers hung at the turn of the century in that saloon, and that saloon was a frequenting drinking saloon of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in Malta. And these antlers very well could have been in the same room that they were in at the same time.
So where do most of Swanson's chandeliers end up? The answer might surprise you.
I ship mostly to New York State. Of all my states, that's my busiest state. And it's incredible the amount of people that are from here that are in high profile or just not even high profile jobs. They're just in the city, and they want this from Montana.
When I asked Swanson if he's had any favorites over the years, or maybe his most memorable chandelier, he gave me a true Montana answer.
You know, actually, it's the customers that are my favorites. I mean, I remember the customers and just the personalities and the feedback I get and the offers to come visit people and things like that. That's really what I remember. And I do remember the chandeliers, but it's mostly the people.
In Stevensville, Justine Stewart, MTN News.
Now, besides chandeliers, Swanson makes lamps, wall sconces, and other fixtures. He can also create chandeliers from antlers provided by customers. For more information on Swanson's antler chandeliers, head on over to our websites.
Pretty cool.
Beautiful stuff.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
It is time for a quick break. Here's a sneak peek of what's coming up on Montana this morning and at 7 here on CBS.
A glowing vessel could be the final resting place for your loved one. I'm Laura Podesta in New York, where researchers are considering new types of burials as cities run out of space.
Good morning ahead on CBS This Morning. The midterms are just 1 week away. We'll take a look at the landscape and ask whether it's really just a referendum on the president. And first on CBS This Morning, the Beastie Boys take us back to the neighborhood that launched them to fame. Plus, why opening for Madonna was not their best experience. See you at 7.